Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders. From physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance, we leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Hey, welcome everybody. Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast brought to you by Friends in Recovery. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
And Jersey Ed.
And we have a guest with us today, Eric
Oliveria.
Again.
He's back on. He won't leave.
Can't get rid of him.
We tried to kick him out, but he said, I'm staying.
It's good stuff here. I'm not going anywhere.
Motherfucker talks too much. That's why.
Glued to the seat.
Change my shirt.
That's it.
You look good. You're gonna start reminding me of Jersey Ed.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, thanks for coming back on the show, Eric.
Thanks for coming, Eric.
It's my pleasure.
You added a lot to the last show, and today we're going to be talking about, just not just so much law enforcement, but just shift work, post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, people don't realize. I do believe people don't realize, society in general, that some departments. I know up in New Hampshire, they work shift. Like you'll be on early nights, 3 to 11 for 3 days, then you're off a day, then you'll be on late nights, 11 to 7, and then you'll be off a day, and then you'll be on day shift, 7 to 3, and be off a couple days. And I mean, that might sound like fun, or it might sound like it might sound like it could be exciting.
Podfather.
But I gotta tell you, after a while, it can get old. I worked 4 to 12 for 28 years, the 4 to 12 shift for 28 years in a cruiser, and it was good. I look back, I could have changed. I could have gone to different shifts, but I didn't, because I just got so acclimated to being on that shift and, working around it. How about yourself, Eric?
Hey, real quick, can I butt in here for a minute? Can I do some business?
Got some business to do,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah. Hold your thoughts there, guys.
Let's make sure everybody knows where this came from.
That's right, exactly. We need somebody to take this on for us. So unless we're passing the basket today.
Yeah, good point.
Anyways, well, we want to just thank Genesis House for answering the call, First Responders podcast. Without them, we cannot do this. Thank you very much. Also, we are powered. I keep saying powdered. We are powered by your likes, follows, subscribes, and shares. Excuse me. Follow us on social media, and help us get the word out. I can't. I read this 1,000 times and I still can't.
I was going to say, man, you should have that down by now.
I know. I should just throw this away and just read it.
You should be able to.
It just doesn't compute. It's just like it's the first time ever reading it.
Every time.
I know.
The first time.
So here's what I'm going to do. Listen. Send your clients to Genesis House. Like us, subscribe.
Yes.
Give us 5 stars. Look for us on Facebook.
Yeah.
Do all that shit you have to do. That. See this fucking piece of paper? Do it all on this piece of paper, and that's it. Now back to the show.
Yes.
Rip that thing up.
That's it. But I do have to honor somebody here for the Wall of Fame. This I take serious. That I do take serious. But honestly, just subscribe. Get a hold of us on any social media. Email us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. And if you want to be Mike, the Podfather's new host, you can also email us there. Because
all you have to do is read.
That's all you got to do is read. So, but I was with the EAP for the state police of Kentucky. Is this this is the state police? Hold on, Lexington. Oh no, that was a while ago. This is I don't even know what this. It's been a day.
It has been
all
a day
this
for
out.
you.
So,
I got you.
I was with the state police of Kentucky, but I also that's not what this is for. I was also with the Lexington, Kentucky police department, and those guys, all kidding aside, a wonderful, great group of guys. There was 4 of them that I met. We met at a Starbucks or a Panera, and it was a chaplain. It was and 2 other EAPs, and they were all police officers. And the chaplain was a great guy. He sent me a nice note, and it was a pleasure meeting with them, and hopefully we're going to do some work with them very soon. So it's on the wall of heroes is going to go our Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky Police Department. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It was a great meeting, and I want to thank all the Officer Stewart who provided us with the patch, and thank you. And they listened to the show too. So thanks, guys.
Super.
Back to the show.
Super duper.
Yeah.
So Eric.
No, hold on. Not back to the show. I got to do
The Podfather.
This is why Podfather wants a new co-host. All right, Eric, you might be moving in here.
No, I can't fill your shoes. Not yet.
We
High
have
heels.
to do
Yeah. Stilettos.
He's not wearing those yet.
Can't walk in those.
Thank God you can only see above the table.
That's right. That's right. I got my dress on.
Yeah.
Mike wanted me to wear a skirt today, so I did. So. But our podcast, Jersey Ed's podcast pick of the week is, I completely forgot about it. Medic Up. I always say this. We always forget about the EMTs. I know we did a couple shows on them, but when we talk about first responders, law enforcement, corrections, because it's near and dear to our hearts. So all three of us sitting up here and Sweets, you've had a run-in with all those folks, so they're near and dear to your heart too. So.
I have.
So, but we do forget about the EMTs who come to our rescue if there's a problem or whatever, and if there's a medical problem. And those guys, like we spoke on last show, those guys are kind of the unsung heroes of the first responders. So the podcast pick of the week is Medic Up. It's a mix of education, entertainment, and just the right amount of war stories to keep you coming back for more. And the host is Chris. That's what he goes by. And it's a pretty entertaining show. I listen to it here and there. And they give out some good information. You get to hear the war stories. For me as a civilian, I guess we like to hear the war stories. You guys to my left, everybody else is right. You guys live those war stories. So, I don't know. I'm just a weird kind of guy. Back to you in the
With a
newsroom,
big heart.
With a big thanks. Yes,
Right,
yeah.
with a big
I
heart.
try.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it does a lot for people. He doesn't realize that he really does go the extra mile. I've spoken to so many facilities, treatment facilities over the years, getting people in up here in Massachusetts. There's several I use. But when I hooked up with Genesis, and I've sent quite a few people down there, professionals, their friends, family, everybody, I realize there is a difference too, Taylor and that whole crew down there, they really, not only do they help people get sober, but I'll give you a good example is Bob Cox. He just started a meeting in Lowell.
Yep.
And he had spent some time down in Genesis, and he'd gone out to a couple of meetings. And, it just lit a fire under him. And, you should see what he just put together. The building itself, the facility is incredible. The 6 o'clock a.m. meeting every Wednesday, 6 o'clock Serenity meeting. It's just a result. It's a direct result of being at Genesis and getting all the knowledge he got in this, obviously, the spirituality, the serenity that he brought back with him. And he's been over 2 years sober now, too. And so...
I hear that a
Good
lot.
stuff.
I mean, I went to a treatment center. It was good. It did what it had to do. But when I hear, and you, Eric, on the last show, you have passion about Genesis House.
I do.
And everybody I talk to that goes through, there's something about that place. I don't know what it is. I didn't go to treatment there. I mean, I know what it is because I work there, and I have the same passion about it, but from a different perspective, obviously. But the treatment center that I went to, it was okay. It was a treatment center. It was, it is what it is. But I get kind of envious hearing like you talk or some of the folks that I get to kind of interact with, some of the alumni, because I don't have that same. I have the passion for the recovery, but not for my treatment center like you guys do. And that says a lot. And I'm proud to work for a place such as that.
Right.
So.
Well, I think staff has a lot to do with it, and the people you communicate with. Melissa Schuyler, when you call up for anything or email, you get a quick response right away, which is always good. As a therapist, I try to always return calls, even when I know I'm not going to be able to see these people because I don't take their insurance or I don't do the type of therapy. I always return the call because I know you take out your card no matter where you work. If you have a EAP in your city, town, your municipality. Take out the card and just for the heck of it, call that number and see how long it's going to take you to get an appointment. See if anyone will actually answer the phone, number one. Number two, see if they call you back.
Yeah.
And, you might end up calling 2 or 3 times. And as we know, this can be life or death sometimes. People are hanging on by their last nerve sometimes, and, it's just not good.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Mike.
Yep.
And,
So
I just feel I just do what I have to do. So,
well, I think
anyways,
you go above and beyond as far as I'm concerned, and you're not because you're a friend. I just believe you do, and
Thanks.
you don't give yourself enough credit.
back to shift work, guys.
Well, if I can interject just a little bit,
Absolutely.
that small window that you were talking about, Mike. Sometimes it's like when somebody's getting ready, you know what I mean, and they finally gotten to that point.
Right.
That there's a small window there to work with because as I know and as I think all of us in this room know, as addicts and alcoholics in recovery, is that we can very easily get a change of mind very quickly.
Yeah. Very quickly.
And in 1 minute you could be down and broke, and then you know what? I mean, somebody doesn't call you back in a day or something, you start to feel like nobody cares.
That's correct.
So then you're just like, you know what? Nobody cares. So I'm just gonna go back to doing
do it again.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So it's important to get back to people,
Right.
and I am an alumni of Genesis House, and the place absolutely saved my life. They're nothing but professionals down there. I mean, even like as Taylor being as young as he is, the kids are straight up professional. The councils down there are fantastic.
Sure.
The facility's great.
Absolutely.
So a lot of props to them. They definitely helped me build my foundation to be where I am today, and I owe them nothing but gratitude to them.
Thanks.
right.
Thanks.
And
kind words. Thanks.
In our profession, EMS workers, police, corrections, firemen, and veterans, if you're out there too, if you're listening.
Huge.
We're all kind of in the same boat. We're public servants that give our time, and some of us get paid better than others. And but the bottom line is, we go into a job really not knowing that there's pitfalls behind the job. We don't understand there could be shift work. We don't understand that the life expectancy isn't the same as most people that are carpenters, plumbers, electricians, factory workers. We just don't know that when we get involved in this. And nor would we care, because most of us start these jobs at a young age.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're young, and you don't give a fuck at 21. I'll stay up all night and fucking, tote a gun. But then when you're 50 years old, you're like, holy fuck, I got to stay up all night now.
Right.
So that I'm sure that takes a toll. You guys probably lived through that, I'm sure.
Right. Well, I know the shift work, like I said, I worked nights 4 to 12 for 28 years. And, I don't know if I cheated my family or not. I try to make all my kids sporting events, and I did pretty well. But I look back on it, and I don't think I would have changed much about it. But there are people that are forced, when you first come on, you're forced to work midnight shift, which is a horrible time to work. I mean, your body's telling you to sleep at 3 a.m, and your supervisor's telling you to fall asleep, you're fired.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you listen to? And it's not always easy to stay awake.
And we thought cops hung out Dunkin' Donuts just for the donuts. Come on.
It's mostly the coffee.
Yeah.
But Eric, how about yourself? What shift have you mostly been on?
Yeah, well, in corrections, anyways, it's like you said, Mike. When you're starting out, you're not going to be on day shift. You know what I mean? You're gonna be on the 3 to 11 or the 11 to 7 shift. So that alone, right off the rip, is it takes some adjusting to. And like you said, you were, fortunate enough to make most of your children's, events and whatnot. But and at least for corrections, anyways, it's a little bit difficult. Because everything's on a seniority basis. So to ask for a certain day off, a Saturday or Sunday, something like that, the chances of you getting that are not good.
Right.
So you're kind of forced onto those shifts, and it does become an issue, especially the 11 to 7 shift, as you know, your body is geared towards the sunlight. You know what I mean? And when you're on 11 to 7, you can get into a sleep pattern, the following day, but it's when you go on your days off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your body automatically goes back to sleeping when it's dark out, and then that first shift back, that following at the end of that shift, it's brutal.
Right.
It is.
Yeah,
It's brutal. It takes a lot out of you. It takes a couple of days to actually, to get back on track.
Sure.
And plus, you guys have to work Christmas Day. There's no time off.
Right.
That job is 24/7. It has to be protected somehow. And you guys have to work Christmas Day, Easter, Hanukkah, whatever it is.
All the holidays.
You miss everything. And they don't care how young or how old you are. get out there and work if you want your job. I guess,
you signed up for it too. You know what I mean? Nothing for nothing. You knew that going in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You knew that this was a part of it. But once you're in it though, it affects you. You know what I mean? It affects the way that you think. Let's call a spade a spade. If you're married, you have to have a strong woman when it comes to something like that, working shift. Working shifts like that's going to be able to give you support on that, because if not, it does become disruptive in your life.
If you don't have the right partner involved in your life, especially if you're raising children and such, it's not just our job; it's their job too.
Absolutely,
and even if they work a full-time job, I know a lot of cops and correctional officers are married to nurses.
Yeah,
and they work shifts very similar. Different shifts too, and those two jobs combined can take its toll on a family, and on a relationship. No surprise that the highest rate of suicide and divorce is correctional officers, cops.
All the shift work folks. Yep.
Sure. And then your health issues too. You got, the high rate of heart attacks. Police, fire, corrections, EMS. It is what it is. In society, you might say, well, if you don't want the job, don't take it. Well, someone has to do it. Number one. Yeah. Some people have the heart. This is what they want to do. Their fathers did it. They want to do it. Their mothers did it. They want to do it. So it's it's almost like a traditional occupation for some people.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to take a quick break here, guys, and we'll discuss shift work when we get back.
Answering the call.
Thanks.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. The First Responder Recovery Program at Genesis House is led by a doctorate-level therapist with direct professional experience as a first responder himself. Treatment modalities focus on psychiatric care, relapse prevention, stress management, and trauma-informed care for PTSD. Learn why their individualized approach makes a difference for first responders. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Answering the call. First Responders Podcast, brought to you by the Friends in Recovery Podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, sitting here with Jersey Ed.
Yes, you are. And yes, I am, I guess.
And we have a guest today,
Eric O.
Good friend of ours, Eric Oliveria.
This show you go by Oliveria.
Yeah, that's right.
The other show you didn't. So, watch him on the other show, guys. That was a good show.
We were talking about PTSD before we took the break, and Eric, you brought up a good point. Why don't you share that with our audience?
I mean, what I do for a living now, and the clientele that we deal with now, is a lot of them are combat vets, because obviously the stuff that's gone on over the last decade or so, over in Afghanistan and Iraq and whatnot. So it's almost like a double whammy. It's like these guys are coming back, the combat vets. They have to stay awake for extended amount of time because they want to stay alive.
Right.
And now they're coming back to jobs, and a lot of guys do go into the service to get the veterans, status, so they can come back and get these jobs because they're good jobs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But now you're putting them in situations, in the prison environment, as police, firefighters, EMTs, and so they're getting double whammied. You know what I mean? When it comes to the trauma that they've seen, what they're dealing with, and it's becoming an issue. It's definitely becoming an issue.
Well, the shit that they see over in Afghanistan, wherever it is, and then they come back, then they got to go to work. You got to go to work because you're not getting any money once you get back, and you're going to live with mom and dad. I mean, you got to go to work, and now you get thrown into a corrections. You find somebody dead in a jail cell, or you show up at a scene of an accident with 3 dead kids. And, you're fucked up. You're really fucked up, and you have to figure out how to do all that. And on top of it, now you can't sleep because you've been, like you said, you've been up and you PTSD from all this. Now all this other shit's fucking you up.
And I'll give you just a quick scenario of one night of my shift. One night, I'm at a football game, a high school football game. My daughter's involved. She's a cheerleader. I know one of the kids on the team. I get a call from the chief. He said, "Hey, you got to get right back to the police station. Police officer just got in a bad motorcycle accident, and he's dead." So I shot back. I go to the hospital. I get all the supervisors. We get all the shift, all the people that work with him. He was an early night police officer. It happened on early nights. He got on his motorcycle. He had a fight with his wife. Got on his motorcycle and took off, and he got broadsided and he got killed. It was horrific. So later on in the night, we have the scene blocked off, and there's a police officer who's a friend of mine shows up from late nights. He's parked there. He gets a call. Guess what? His son just got in an accident in another state. He's dead. So now I have the EAP job to help the family of the officer who's dead. Now I get the word when Chris Luminello got the call that his son was in an accident and died. Now I have both these. I'm juggling these, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And in the meantime, it's 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and my own family's like, well, I wonder where Dad is, what's going on with him. So I don't like to bring all this into the family so they don't sleep, So I just say, hey, I got to work. There's something going on. I don't want to tell them. Of course, then the next day it's all in the newspaper and everything. But as you know, you do EAP work now. It's even like a double whammy. It's like a triple whammy. It's just one of those jobs that you just never know what's going to be coming your way.
Yeah, but who's going to go home, guys, and say, oh, hey, honey, I was on I heard two cops died today, and or Eric, I was walking past a jail cell, and you don't bring it home. You don't bring it home.
No, you don't.
You don't want to have them live that, and you don't want to relive that trauma either.
Right.
You want to throw it away somewhere, stuff it away, and hopefully it'll never come back up again. But that's where it all goes wrong.
It comes back up. It comes back hard
in different ways. So. And then you throw shift work on top of it. You go home, you come sleep. Well, my husband doesn't talk to me. Well, yeah, because he's sleeping.
Right.
And when he gets up, he doesn't want to talk about work. Yeah, because he just seen a fucking dead guy at work.
Right.
I mean, come on, let's be serious.
Right. So hence the high rate of divorce. You know, and I mean that's just a quick scenario. And the general public, they don't understand. Another good example is you're on. For me, anyway, this was always a killer. I'd take a detail. Stopping speeders, people running certain lights or whatever, and of course no one's ever guilty. You sit there and we have radar. I mean, we have laser now, but it tells
bullshit.
you
It doesn't fucking work.
It tells you how fast the cars are going. And then you stop this poor housewife dropping off 3 little children. She's got a minivan and she's going 47 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and you walk up pleasantly and say, hey, how you doing? Could you just slow down? I wasn't speeding, Then all of a sudden your blood pressure's through the roof, and you're trying to deal with this stuff. But I can understand a lot of these veterans that have, like you said, that have seen war, they've come back, they've gotten this job. They probably haven't even dealt with their own experiences with PTSD.
But when you're 21, 22, you don't think you have any of those problems.
Right.
Like we talked earlier, you think you're Superman. You're never going to die. You're never going to, you don't see any of that. You know what I mean? And you come back from war. Hey, yeah, that was my job out there, and now I'll take another job. But, you get up to our age, and that shit starts sinking in, man.
They're all just little drips in the bucket, drips in the bucket, drips in the bucket. And if we don't do something to try to empty that bucket from time to time, it's gonna overflow. And usually in law enforcement, when that overflows, it's pretty bad. Usually there's helicopters and news cameras. Unfortunately, you know what I mean. And there's tragedy. Just one more thing about the PTSD and the combat vets and the not sleeping and the shift work. It's like. Some of these guys can't sleep now. I mean, they try to sleep and they can't. So then where do you go from there, right? Now you're getting put on meds. You know what I mean? And it's like you get on these, trazodone and lorazepam and all this other stuff. And I don't know, man. This it can get ugly quick. You know what I mean? And then you start drinking on that stuff, you end up in your neighbor's pool full of blood. And you don't know where the blood's coming from.
Exactly. Yeah. Or even worse, not worse, but smoking pot, which you guys cannot do as law enforcement. You cannot do that as first responders. I know a lot of people that smoke pot to go to sleep, and I don't understand that, but it can cause a whole bunch of problems. And like you said. You have to empty that bucket every once in a while, and some people don't understand to do that. And I hope we get the word out here to
make some healthy choices. To do something to help yourself a little bit.
What about eating on shift work? Eating at 3:00 in the morning, I do very well because I get up, I eat, and then I go right back to sleep. But it can't be too healthy to eat at lunchtime on a midnight shift. It just can't be. I mean,
I don't think it's healthy just for that particular time. But and Mike, you can attest to this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of downtime sometimes when things aren't popping off. There's a lot of downtime. So there's a thing that we actually call inside the institution. It's boredom eating. You know what I mean? You're eating just out of boredom, just to do something. You know what I mean? And then, you know, if you as a police officer, you can go to any place, you know, outside that's open late. You know what I mean? 7-Eleven or whatever. Well, what our guys tend to do is they tend to bring in a whole bunch of food.
Yeah,
you know what
healthy
I mean?
food.
And that becomes a habit, and then before you know it, you know what I mean. So you know, if you're not moving and you're eating, you're taking in a lot of calories, you know, now you're a little overweight. Now you're feeling shitty about yourself, and now you can't sleep, and you got, you know, it's just it's all those drips in the bucket.
Yeah.
I never realized how overweight I was until I went to Mexico with my family on vacation.
And they charge you for 2 seats on the plane.
The speedo didn't fit quite right. No,
I've seen him in a speedo. It's not a pretty sight.
Whatever, you know. And float your boat.
And my daughter was taking pictures, you know, and I was showing them on the screen a couple weeks later. I'm like, oh my fucking word, who's the whale, you know? And since I retired, I've lost 40 pounds because I eat healthy now, and I eat normal, and I'm not stuffing food down my throat like a savage, you know, like it's my last meal, you know. And even now, my youngest daughter will say, Dad, you eat like, you know, someone's going to shoot you or something, you know, if you don't eat it fast. But it's just part of that job, and this is why all these statistics that the Department of Justice came up with, you know, they've put this all together, and they try to explain. And you know what I really do see, like we talked about earlier, Eric, in Jersey Ed, is that now at least the upper echelon, the administration, they're taking time and saying, hey, here's your new job, and before you start, we want you to listen to this. And they have the EAPs come in and talk to them about shift work, about PTSD, about eating habits, about the family. They have a family night.
Yeah.
When these kids graduate from the academy, they have the family night. Come in and they explain, and they can answer questions. They can ask questions and have questions answered. You know. Yep. So it does my heart good to know that the administration is finally stepping up, and there are changes.
And there are changes. It's in the right direction, but I don't think it's where it should be at this point in time. Just knowing from you guys and hearing everything, I don't think it's. Like I said on a previous show, I don't think it's enough. We're not doing enough. There should be classes on all this, you know, because these young kids don't know what they're getting into when they get this. You know, you understand it because you've done it, Eric, and you too, Podfather. You guys done it, but you got it through experience. And you know, sometimes getting it through experience is good, but then you get angry about it, you get resentful about it, and you're like, "Fuck this," you know, and then it kind of pulls back on your job a little bit. So I see Sweet shaking his head over there. What's that about?
I'm acknowledging it.
Oh, good. Yeah. I did say something right?
You did, yes.
Thanks.
Correct.
But Sweets, did you ever work shift work? And you and I are civilians, so I work shift work, and I'm telling you, I don't know how these guys did it, because I would fall asleep when I was working shift work. I worked for a plant that made nitrocellulose that we made basically dynamite.
Nice.
And if I went to sleep and didn't wake up, I knew why.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah, exactly. But how about you, Sweets?
I did actually. I was when I was incarcerated. You know, they had us at the farm, and I was working at Blue Rhino, making the propane tanks.
Really?
Taking the old tanks, cleaning them off, taking all the stuff off, filling them up, painting them, all that stuff. And it was just taking tanks off of pallets and putting them on new pallets. And we'd go in at 11, we'd come home at 7, just 11 to 7 shift. And I mean, you had to prep for it. You know, I mean, everything, again, my life was a little easier because I was incarcerated. I wasn't dealing with my family, and, you know, but at the same time, you have to prep for it. You have to sleep during the day, because if you don't, you're garbage, you know, and then, like you said, everything changes. Your diet changes, your mood changes, your ability to deal with stuff during the day changes. So I know about that from my perspective. I couldn't imagine if I had to function at a high level and parent or, you know, maintain a marriage.
Be a normal human being.
Yeah, like during the day, people would expect me to go out and do things, go to family events. Like if I had to do that stuff, there's no way that job would have lasted.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and I
such a
guess
good
that's the
point.
sacrifice you make, is that you
point.
can't be a normal person and have an overnight shift.
Yeah,
You can't work 3 shifts back to back and then come home and still have something to give.
Right.
Yeah.
In the camaraderie, people wonder why cops and correctional officers and firemen, they all hang around with each other. Well, that's the reason. That's one of the reasons, the camaraderie, because you're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You all have Wednesdays and Thursdays off.
Absolutely.
My first year at the prison, I had Wednesdays and Thursdays off. I mean, unless I joined a bowling league, I had no social life, you know. And I worked every holiday. I never had a holiday off. My last night at the prison before I went to the police department was New Year's Eve. I didn't call in sick because I wanted to say bye to my brethren, you know, all my fellow officers and stuff, and people that were good to me. And, you know, they were betting whether I was going to call in sick. It was my last night. I said, no way, I'm coming in, you know. But and that's why we all gravitate towards each other, because we're all in the same boat, same profession.
Well, what's the solution to this? Now, I don't want to say the solution. Obviously, shift work is never going to go away because it has to be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. But what's your best advice, guys, for the folks listening that are working shift work? How can they take care of themselves? How can they eat a little healthier? How can they maybe, you know, get the sleep they need, work around family? You know, is there a system to it, or is there a kind of a solution that you guys came up with?
Well, I think knowledge is power, and I think just by us talking about it here, obviously, you know, this is good. But I think Eric is more involved right now, and like he said earlier, and he can talk about it a little bit, is the administration, they're giving us opportunities to have people like Eric or someone like myself in EAP to be educated, to go to seminars, get education, bring it back to the masses. Correct, Eric?
Yeah, that is true, Mike. Just to touch a little bit on administration, I know we talked about this earlier. They have come an incredible amount of way to realizing that there was some deep rooted issues in the department for quite some time, and I have nothing but good things to say about where they are today. Right. Ed, you had said something about, you know, the masses. We teach, you know, an in-service class that every correctional officer has to go through for 40 hours, you know, every year for. And in those classes, there's a number of classes, but there is a wellness class in there, and there is you know, a stress class in there. We teach an addiction class. You know, there's you know, healthy life choices. So the administration understands the issues. They've given us the tools to enable to, you know, to give that information out to the line staff. Good. Now again, as you know, even in recovery, you know, you take what you need and you leave the rest. If you don't take anything from that, then you kind of on. You need to. The bottom line, I think, is I understand if you're forced to do certain things, but you still need to make healthy life choices. You know what I mean? And you know, going to the bar and doing some negative things or some things that are unhealthy for you isn't really the way to do it. You know, you got to find something that makes you a little bit happy. You know what
exercise,
I mean? Stuff like that. Just find something you like to do. You know what I mean? Go to the gym,
hike,
you know,
meditate, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Meditation is amazing. I can't do it long, but it takes out of yourself. It takes you away from your problems, and you can kind of figure out what's going on, and you know, for you guys who, you know, and meditation can make you fall asleep too.
I was just thinking that when you said it, I'm like, that'll help you fall asleep.
Exactly. So
I was kind of dozing off over here.
Right?
The Podfather's meditating over there. Podfather, you can't see it, but he has his yoga pants on.
That's
today.
on. I do. Yes.
You can't see below the desk.
It looks splendid. Yes. So hey, thank God for the guy who invented yoga pants, or the girl, or whoever did. Thank you.
Why would that be?
It just made life a lot
comfortable.
Right? More enjoyable.
I'm sure that's the reason why.
Well, listen, everybody. This is definitely the Podfather and Answering the Call, First Responder Podcast, along with Jersey Ed and our guest today, Eric Oliveria. And this has been a great show. And
absolutely. Eric, thanks for hosting again.
Anytime.
Please come on anytime you want. You know where we're at. Knock on our door and grab a microphone and probably take my spot one day. You're a young kid.
With good eyes.
With good eyes. Handsome guy.
As long as you can read, we'll take it.
Can you read this for us?
I need some glasses.
Hey, answering the call.
50.
Answering the call. Thanks.
Stay safe, everybody.
That concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responder Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House for sponsoring the show and supporting first responders who are struggling with addiction and mental health. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com.